Hey guys, I'm Davey Wavey, creator of the gay erotic website Himeros.tv. And today I'm joined by sex coach Finn Deerhart and my best friend Matthew Thomas. And today we're talking about Calvin's dream, probably more aptly titled Calvin's wet dream.
That's fair. It's
Yeah.
totally fair. In all of its forms.
I wish I had thought of that at the time, because that actually would have been a better title. Himeros Live is sponsored by Himeros.tv. Himeros.tv is like porn, but better. Take what you love about porn, your favorite models, hot sex, explicit fucking, cum shots, and then add in authenticity, vulnerability, real passion, connection, and videos that help you have better sex, increased pleasure, and more intimacy. Be part of the gay porn revolution and get 20% off your membership at himeros.tv/pod.
She's getting good.
Wait, I fucked it up. I have one more sentence left. Oh. And though I never, what is this? Okay. And though I never want to put a price on pleasure, as little as 40 cents per day seems pretty fucking cheap. So join us and support this work at himeros.tv/pod. I almost made it through the whole thing.
You didn't even need that. You already had me sold. I was like, oh, okay.
Just 40 cents per day, folks.
See, look at that.
When you put it that way, 40 cents is like nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Finn, how much do you spend on coffee a day?
Well, it varies because I make my own at home a lot. But if I'm traveling, it's significant. It's like $6 a day.
Yeah. This is an investment in yourself, in your pleasure, in your whole, in your penis. 40 cents. Anyway, so hey boys.
Hey, what's going on?
How was everyone's Thanksgiving?
It's nice.
Amazing.
What are you thankful for?
Peace and silence.
Peace and silence, is that what you said?
Yes. Peace, quiet.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my life and my partner, and just like we had a couple of friends come over and having like a slow day where I didn't think about work, and that's rare for me to unplug fully like that. So that was very thankful for that.
Now I
Did you
feel
do
like
turkey?
shit.
I did make a ham, but I did make a raw carrot cake, and it was such a mess, but it was really, really good.
Yeah. Do you like it raw, Finn?
Yeah, I do.
Wait, backtrack. Raw carrot cake?
Yeah.
How do you make that?
You like food process, like dates and cashews and carrots and agave nectar, that kind of stuff. And you like make a big paste and put it in the fridge, and you ice it with more frosting made out of like raw cashews. And it's really good.
I think this is what straight people talk about. They just talk about recipes.
Do you
That's
have
what
a
I'm like.
picture
I
of it?
do watch a show about baking British people.
I do watch the Great British Baking Show. That shit, I'm telling you, is the best thing on TV. You don't feel stupid after you watch it. It's entertaining. It's uplifting.
What do you watch that makes you feel stupid?
Oh, any reality show makes you feel stupid. You watch it and you're like, okay, I'm dumber for having seen that.
No, that I watch reality TV and I think, wow, I thought I have it bad. My life is pretty damn good.
You feel elevated by
I do. I feel elevated by reality television.
Wow. I actually always feel really sad after reality TV, where I'm like, oh man, our world isn't gonna make it. Like, really nervous. Like, is this like representative of people?
No, but not after Great British Baking Show, because there's so much. They're like supporting each other. They're collaborative. They're artistic. I love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Do you have a picture of this carrot cake?
Oh my god!
I'm sorry. I want to see it. I'm really curious.
This is about sex.
Yeah, I do.
Well, you know what? Offline.
Yeah, offline. I'm gonna send you the recipe. I'm gonna send you the recipe and a picture.
Perfect. Thank you.
Also, I want to see it too, though.
Oh, see, there we go. Okay, back to sex.
You know what I'm thankful for? I'm thankful for my left hand. How about that?
All right,
I switched it up last night.
I was like, are you a righty?
I'm a righty. I switched it up last night. Yeah.
Was it painstakingly hard to get there?
It was so difficult to come with my left hand. But you know, I was like, all right, I started off with the right. I was like, all right, let's get it like kind of worked up. And what I noticed was that even as I like approached like climax, ejaculation, whatever. So I was doing it with my left hand like this. If you're watching the video, you can see. My right hand started like jerking off a ghost stick because it's so used to like when I'm about to come, it going like this. And I think like when I top, it takes me forever to come. Topping, yeah. And sometimes I just don't, or I have to jerk off to do it because I think I'm so conditioned. Like it's my hand that makes me come, and like nothing else can do it.
Yeah.
So I switched up with the left hand. You guys need to try it, and it also is a totally different orgasm. It's like, what is this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's actually my friend Will was just telling you about a few minutes ago. He says you should practice masturbating in all kinds of ways, like standing up, laying down, different positions, different hand touches. Because when you're with a person and if they're not touching you how you're used to being touched in that one, it can be challenging.
Well, we have an upcoming video coming out that's about pelvic thrusting masturbation, which is like your hands stay still and you use your body to like it more emulates what it actually is like to fuck.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's coming out in a few weeks. And so I was trying to get a head start on it because, in addition to watching these videos, it's, kind of the responsibility on each of us to try them. So
I have to ask a question. So when you're younger, obviously both of you, whenever you're starting to explore touch like that with yourself, what was the weirdest thing that you masturbated with? and like everybody does weird
I used Vaseline and like a tub of Vaseline, and it ruined my sheets because I like did it under the covers, and it looked like a alien had been like
gutted.
Yeah, gutted in my covers. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
That's the weirdest thing. What, Matthew? You've got more.
Well, when I was having sex before I knew what masturbation was.
Wow.
Which is really, that's not typically how it works for most people. But I remember when I finally learned about what masturbation was, I started doing it, and I was just using my hands, and I was like, people do this? Like, it doesn't even feel right to me. So I went on like pretty much a quest around my house, sticking my dick in things and rubbing my dick against things, trying to find like, why do people enjoy this? And the biggest mistake I made was I lifted up my mattress and I put my dick between my mattress and the box spring.
Yeah.
I mean, painful, like doesn't even begin to explain. Like I was literally like an idiot. Like, let me just stick my dick anywhere. And that happened.
What about you, Finn?
Well, actually, I was going to say the box spring mattress thing actually works if you put like a little bag with lotion in it in between them.
See, I wasn't smart enough to think of that.
I got that off. There's a website when I was like in high school called Jack and World, and there's all these different things you could do. And I used literally like a piece of bologna that warmed up. I'm like cucumber and carved out like a hollow center and a cucumber. And I whacked off with that.
Oh my god!
When I discovered lotion, it was a whole new world.
Yeah.
I don't need lotion or lube. I can just use my hand.
See, I wish I could do that. That and like the spit thing, it doesn't work for me.
Cost effective.
It sure is. But no, it's never worked for me.
So, in other news, I went to Provincetown over the weekend since we last chatted for my friend Chad's birthday, which was off season in Provincetown. But Finn, I mean, you know this. You've seen the upcoming video that we have coming out called "The Road Traveled." It's coming out on December 3rd.
I've seen it. Yes.
Yeah, you've seen it. You wrote it. You were there. So I wanted to do like a YouTube component where like I would explore the idea of cruising with someone that was like a little bit less familiar with it. And Chad came out of the closet, I think, in like August. And so it was so cute. We're on camera and I was like, so like, you know, you've heard the word cruising before, I'm sure. Like, what do you think it is? And he goes, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I think it's like when you meet a guy on Grindr and then you're driving to his house, like you're cruising in the car.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, wow, there's probably so many people that are like, he's 21 that are like his age and younger that probably just don't, like, we don't know what it is. And so I was like, no, it's when you're like in a public place, like looking for a sex partner, you use different signals. And so I was teaching him in the video some of the secret signals, like, like if you're in the bathroom doing like the foot tapping or swiping your hand under the stall, or the eye contact, like if you're like shopping at the mall, or even like kind of the slowly adjusting your crotch, like grabbing your crotch. Which is also something that he kind of made the point that like straight guys do that all the time. If you're talking to a straight guy, they're always like adjusting their balls, and it's very confusing, which is true. Well, it is.
I mean, there's probably like there's a difference in the type. I mean, this is a person that doesn't cruise. It's telling you this. Yeah. There's a very deliberate nature to it when someone's cruising. It's deliberate and it's obvious, and there's definitely an intrigue, like it's like, I want you to see me doing this.
Yeah, but haven't you ever been like at the gym and there's like a straight guy you're talking to, Matt, you know what I'm talking about, right? And they just like grab their crotch.
Sure.
Do you find that confusing? Yeah. Are you using sign language? Do you know this is gay sign language for like for suck my dick?
No, but I know that but they're not grabbing their crotch and looking at me.
Right. They might be. Yeah, they're grabbing their crotch and talking to you.
Yeah, but if I don't know, like I still think that you know the difference. There are certain instances where you're like, wait, is this guy hitting on me or is he not? But more often than not,
Mm-hmm. I just dropped to my knees. I'm just like, look, come on. Wow. I'm ready.
And then there's that.
All right. So today's video is titled Calvin's Dream, featuring Cocky Boys exclusive Calvin Banks, Alex Mecum, and Max Adonis. Is it Adonis or Adonis?
Well, I don't know how he says it, but Adonis would be the mythic figure.
Yes, Adonis would be the mythic figure.
Maybe he wants to be different. I don't know. Adonis.
I would say this is one of our flagship films. It's fairly long, like lengthwise, probably 17 minutes. But I think it's really worth it. I think it's juicy. It's orgasmic. It's meaningful. Like there's a purpose behind it. It's hot. It's everything.
Beautiful. Yeah.
The cinematography, I mean, everything about it just is really exciting to me. So before I describe what happens in the film, of course, you guys can watch a free preview at himeros.tv. It's explicit, so make sure you're 18 plus. I do want to back up and give some context. Also, especially because like neither of you guys were on the shoot. And so I'd like to give you a little bit of background that we shot this during our now, I would say, infamous, notorious tantric retreat for porn stars in Joshua Tree, California. And on the retreat, we had a bunch of workshops, and there was one workshop where we talked about dreams. And so, and none of this is like betraying any confidence because it was all filmed and there's going to be documentaries coming out. But Calvin was talking about how he's had this like recurring dream of seeing his ex-boyfriend with another man, and how painful it was and how he felt really jealous. And he also shared a dream. I've got a burp stuck in my throat. There it goes. He also shared a dream about keeping it classy. That felt like a video game. Like he was, when you like finish a level on a video game, instead of going to the next level, just keep looping. So he was stuck in this like video game loop. And for this video, Calvin's Dream, we wanted to, all we said to the models is, look, we want to do this video where Calvin's riding his bike through the desert. And he comes up to this trailer and he opens the door, and we want you guys to decide what he finds inside of it. And by the way, why don't we use this workshop around our dreams to figure out like what the content could be, to kind of have the models co-create the plot with us. So we based it off of Calvin's real life dream, which was that he opens the door and finds his boyfriend in the trailer. And it adds like a layer of, it was funny too, because as soon as we did that, the models became like super invested in it. They were really excited. They were being asked to express their voice. And I think rather than just throwing a concept at the models, it was like, okay, this is coming from a place of authenticity. This is something that Calvin's actually going through. So having said all that, the video's in 4 chapters. So the first time Calvin enters the trailer, he sees his ex-boyfriend, and they have what I would call ex sex, which, like, I think probably a lot of us have been in that situation. Have you ever had ex sex? Have you guys? I just heard a lot of grunts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's confusing, right? Like it can be good, it can I don't know. Finn, you're making a conflicted face there.
Well, I just think it's complicated, you know.
Yeah.
It is. In some ways we can be less inhibited in that space because there's no more, you know, fear of losing that person. So there's like this what I always wanted to show you, I'll show you now kind of thing happening sometimes. And also maybe like, you know, wanting to get back close to them. There's like that kind of energy. So it ends up being kind of conflicting. So that's when you'd ask that question. I was just kind of remembering back in the situations where I've been in, and it was complicated for me.
Yeah. It's a weird feeling too, because it's like a very familiar feeling. You're like, oh, I remember this taste. I remember this dick.
I remember this energy, yeah.
Yeah, I remember what it's like to kiss this elevator. Like, I remember the energy. I'm like, I remember the dick. I remember this dick.
Well, they're not so separate, you know.
Yeah, but you're more tuned into the energy. I'm just like, yeah. It feels like, you know, when you visit a place that you haven't been to in like a long time. Like Matt, like we went to school together. I feel like if we went back to campus, like that feeling that we would get like on the campus of like, ooh, this is familiar but different.
And I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, like sometimes like doors close for a reason. You know?
Exactly.
So in the film, Calvin's having sex with Max, who's playing his ex-boyfriend. Obviously, they're not really ex-boyfriends in real life, and you kind of get this like feeling. I mean, they do a really good job of being like, what are you doing here? And like during the sex, they say like, I think someone says like, oh, I miss that dick, or like. You feel, you're like, oh, this is hot, but you feel like conflicted by it, and like, oh, is this a good thing? I don't know. And then just as Calvin like is about to come, or I don't know, something's about to happen, it's like climactic. The video restarts, so it loops. And then Calvin's back on his bike, driving through the desert, approaching the trailer, and then he goes into the trailer a second time. And this is when he sees his ex-boyfriend with another man. Now for Calvin, he felt very like, it was painful. He felt feelings of jealousy. I'm curious about you guys, like if you imagine some of your ex-partners with, and I guess it depends how you feel about that ex-partner, but like, have you had that feeling of jealousy? Do you have that feeling of jealousy?
Yeah.
Like in that specific situation, like walking in and them sleeping with somebody else.
Well, I mean, it's kind of extreme, right? Like I doubt you've like walked in on an ex sleeping with someone.
Better get my bail money ready.
So why is that hard for you?
Yeah.
Well, because for a lot of reasons. One, I think that trust is lost. It's not like in that scenario, it's not like he is telling him, or it's not like they're talking about this ahead of time, like, hey, this is what I want. Would you be open to exploring this? It's just you walk in and this is what you see. And on top of that, like it's almost like a mind fuck in a way. Like the way that he's looking at him and trying to entice him to join, and he can tell that the other guy's caught off guard and not really into it and conflicted and hurt and doesn't know what to feel or what to do. Mm-hmm.
So you're referencing the eye contact that happens in the film, the way that Max like looks over at Calvin with these like sexy eyes. For you, you read that as he wanted Calvin to join and have a threesome?
Either he wanted him to join or he wanted him to watch, but it wasn't. There was something about the look between the two of them that it didn't feel good. Like it didn't feel like what was happening was out of any love for Calvin.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think I understand what you're saying, Matthew. There was almost like this phrase I don't like, but like rubbing in his face, kind of smugness to his look. But I also did get a few times to a different kind of look where he was like, it was like inclusion. And even if that is just like, hey, look at what I'm doing. It wasn't like, get the fuck out of this trailer. It was like, hey, this is what's happening. You know, it's kind of complex. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I feel like
go on.
I was gonna say, I feel like what happens in a scene like this is that we all probably kind of like project onto it what our own experiences have been. Yeah. because I looked at it and I thought that the feeling, like, I also, obviously you notice eye contact, it's really intense, and Max is taking this like huge dick up his ass and he's staring into the eyes of his ex-boyfriend. And I read that as like, I want you to witness this. Like, I want you to see this, like, because you need to see this. You need to see like me receiving this pleasure and that I'm happy and that I'm in this good place. And you need to let go. Like, you need to let me go. Alexa just responded to that. Did you hear that?
That's amazing.
You got fired up.
I think that, you know, I could relate to everybody in the video at some point in my development. Like I think that's why I like this one so much. It's very complex, and it turns me on to have more complexity exhibited. And so you see all these different emotions. And I mean, I think I can relate to the jealousy being part of the turn on. I think most of us have that kind of feeling. That's central to cuckolding fantasies. If anything, this is kind of like, I would relegate some of this to like a cuckolding situation. And I think it's important to be able to see all those different emotions. It is complex.
Yeah, and towards the end of that particular chapter, that scene within a scene, I guess, the camera does like pan over to Calvin, and he does kind of have like a slight smile on his face, which I guess could be, I mean, I interpreted it as like maybe a recognition that like seeing his partner with this other man, and that they have his partner and this new boyfriend or new partner, they have this connection, and Calvin's love for his ex is not diminished by that. And that if you love someone enough, you can be happy for them, even if they're creating a life that doesn't include you. But again, it's like a projection, you know?
Yeah, and if we are like comfortable exploring all these emotions in ourselves, we can, like, you know, relationships obviously are very complex and can take on different forms. And I think this is what I love about this, is like a drama of all these different characters in this scene that are really aspecting a lot of different parts of ourselves and sexuality and relationships anyway. I mean, it's happening all over the place. So
yeah. Have you ever seen an ex-partner have sex with someone else?
Yeah.
You have? And what was that like for you?
Fine.
Were they an ex at the time that you saw them having sex with someone else? Yeah,
or like in like my transitions weren't so like, okay, we're done and that's it. It was more like a year of letting go, but seeing them in that space and then enjoying the jealousy aspect of it too. Because all the suppression that we do to those feelings that we don't like jealousy, doesn't really help. So having a way to eroticize it brought it out in a way that felt good, and I could experience pleasure there and let that go.
I guess it also depends on like what the situation was with that partner. Like if you're still madly in love with them and like desperately want to you're probably gonna have a different experience.
Right.
Like, were you happy for them like in their pleasure?
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy for them. And yeah, like you're saying, totally. If you're still just like really hung up on wanting their solo attention, then yeah, that would be horrible maybe. But I also still, like, even now, I fantasize a lot about my partner being with other people and brings me pleasure. There's something for me there around like making that a hot thing instead of like denying that or like, you know, trying to suppress that feeling.
Yeah.
Because a lot of relationships are like, you know, they're going around like, well, we will not entertain this idea. That's too scary. But truthfully, inside there's like maybe like a hotness to like really stepping into that a little bit for more people than are willing to go there.
Oh, I'm with you on that. Like, I think there's nothing that turns me on more than like I want a boyfriend who like comes home with like a used wet hole and he's just like, and I get to like play it. But we're pigs.
So it's fun for you, yeah, because you can you can relate to like everybody in that situation and yourself, the parts of you that want to be free. And
Matt's horrified.
I think the fantasy of it is exciting, but I think the reality of it turns me off.
Yeah,
I think that's something that can just stay a fantasy. I don't ever want to actually experience it.
And I think that's totally fair too. I mean, fantasy, living the fantasy in and of itself in a fantasy is just as valuable.
So in this scene, Max is getting fucked by Alex. Calvin's watching, and I mentioned to Matt, I was like, when you watch it, I was like, it does kind of seem a little bit like a birthing scene. Like, did you notice that? Did you notice that, Matt?
I did.
In what respect?
Well, Max is kind of like on his back. He's like covered in sweat. He's got his like legs like lifted up, and he's like really like he's in the intensity of it, and he's like he's vocalizing. It just seems like he's either like well, and to be fair, Alex's dick is the size of a small child, so he basically is giving birth. But you almost expect someone at some point to like pop up on camera and be like, "It's a boy." No,
it's interesting. I actually, the moment you're describing, I felt like that was the first time in the video I saw him not be really self-conscious, the way he looks like or how he's making his face. Like he seemed like he was just in it, and it really was exciting for me to see the intensity of what he. You don't know what you're looking like if you lose consciousness. You might be making ugly face, but you're just like in the experience, and that's what he looked like to me.
Yeah, well, now he will be self-conscious because I just made fun of him for it, but.
Have these models ever worked together before?
No, they hadn't. Cool.
It was pretty intense at moments, like just watching them interact with one another. It seemed like they knew each other or had some sort of a past.
Yeah, well, this was like day 3 of the 4-day shoot, and it was a really intense tantric workshop. I mean, people were crying. I mean, I think by that point, everyone felt a really strong connection with one another. And all the models that we picked were really able to show up and be present and be vulnerable. And I think all of that kind of facilitated. That's why it almost does feel like, okay, this could be a scene with, these are actual ex-boyfriends. Like this is actually like the new boyfriend. They really stepped into the roles, I felt like.
Yeah, it's so cool because they also weren't using any substances really, and it was like just kind of testimony to the power of the connection.
Yeah. There was also something interesting that happened. You said that Max kind of lost himself when he was coming, and we shot quite a few films with Max, and this was the first time that he had come in a video, and I wasn't like really keeping tabs on it, but he definitely was, and after he came, it was like a big announcement. Like he was really excited that it was his first time that he had come on camera, and it was like a really big moment for him and a relief. But it may have taken him to really like lose himself and to like stop being self-conscious for the ejaculation to happen.
So, what did the model say like about the finished product when he got to watch it? Since this was us interpreting his dream. Calvin.
Yeah, I watched it with him a couple weeks ago. We just filmed something for YouTube, and he was over at my house, and he hadn't seen it yet. So we sat down and we watched it, and he was really cringing at the dialogue, because I think all models like that's just like, it's tough to like see yourself acting and like speaking lines, but I thought the dialogue was actually really good. And he's
hard on himself.
Yeah. I think it's hard to look at a video and not be like critical of your role in it. I know I would be if I was watching it. But he also said that like the reaction that he had in the film, which is kind of what we all talked about. We're like, okay, yeah, and he's gonna smile as he watches his ex-boyfriend get fucked. He was like, that's not authentic. Like he said he would have been really upset. Like he wouldn't have had that like like, I don't know. I think over the course of like the 5 minutes in that particular section of the video, Calvin has kind of like a change of heart. And I think he was just kind of noting that in real life, he doesn't think that would have happened for him. So the next chapter is Max comes and it's really hot, and then the video loops a third time, and this time when Calvin approaches the trailer, he opens the door and he sees a reflection of himself, so it's like a mirror. And this was another thing he cringed at, was while he's jerking off, he's like looking into the mirror, and it's really, I thought, very beautiful. And he as he's coming, he says "I love you" to himself. And he was like, "Oh, I can't believe I said that. Oh, that looks so narcissistic." And I was like, I don't think anyone reads that as like narcissistic. It wasn't like
you know what? So self-loathing is narcissism too.
What's that?
Self-loathing is its own narcissism.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Well, grandiosity or just like self-loathing are both two responses to like trauma. So if he's like, "Oh, I can't believe I tell myself I love me," well, that's not any more narcissistic than being like, "I don't deserve to love myself. I'm a piece of shit." You know, they're two sides of the same coin. I love that part. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah, it was, and it was like he kind of needed to have that moment of like, well, for me, maybe you guys had different interpretations. I'm curious what they are, but it was almost this feeling of like, oh, that love that I'm seeking is like something that is within myself, something I've had all along, like it's in here. I mean, that's what I got out of it.
In the mirror too, in the mirror aspect, I really loved this video. I think you can tell, but like the mirror, like you're looking into the mirror, he's only there by himself, so all that he had seen already is just like this reflection of who he is.
Wow, some symbolism.
Well, it's there. I mean, they made it. That's what I love it. Like it's really cool for me. It's very mythic and it's alive. I think all of our relationships are mirrors. So it's really cool that and then telling himself he loved himself. And even if it was like hard to say, I mean, that's okay too. Like it is hard for us to love ourselves sometimes. And then especially if you have hard feelings and like all that he experienced in that dream, you know, like, yeah, it might be hard to love yourself after watching that, you know, just to be okay with what is and letting go of somebody.
Yeah, it felt like the video couldn't just end with Calvin doing like a slight smile. There needed to be some more, like another element to it. And so in our kind of like group collaboration with the models, we're like, oh yeah. And then we put on a fourth scene, which, you know, just one final, it was a quick little scene, which is Calvin's, again, the video loops and he's driving through the desert, comes up to the trailer, and this time he doesn't open the door. He just keeps going. And you know, it's because like his lesson has been learned. So there's nothing left for him in the trailer. So any overall impressions, thoughts, anything you want to share, comments, conundrums, queries, quibbles?
I just like how, like I said, I like the complexity of it, and I like how artistically expressed all these different perspectives were. To me, it added to the eroticism of it all, because I can relate to like everybody in the video. Yeah. It's more dimensions than just like dick in a hole.
Yeah. I think a lot of that came from like co-creating this with the models and basing it on their real experiences. Like it added a complexity to it. This has been the catalyst for us to do more videos like this. So we're doing a shoot in January in Amsterdam, and a lot of videos are like, okay, like here's the container, here's the tapas, like here's a few like foundational elements that we're going to film, and let's have conversations around like where the video goes from here, rather than just having a director say like, okay, now do this.
Yeah. I mean, how would you like that in your own sex? Somebody sitting over your shoulder being like, okay, now I need to do this. Okay, now do that. Oh, can you lean back here? Oh, and then added on top of that, your own self-criticism is like, do I look fat in this position? Is this so good? Does that feel good to you? You know, it's just like a lot.
Right. Yeah.
It's fun to be able to just like, here's some elements, now play.
It does take like a workshop setting though, because we've had a lot of instances like where you really have to like get people to feel comfortable opening up, and there's so many situations where like okay, like what do you want, like where should this go, and I think the initial knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, I don't know, like I don't know, even if you do, right, like to say it. And then sometimes I think genuinely people don't know, they don't have like, they haven't kind of turned inward enough to tune into what it is that they want or what they want to express, or what's interesting. So,
you know, to that, there's this tactic I recently picked up in facilitating. Guys will almost always say, I don't know, to escape not on purpose, but the vulnerability of like having an answer and being rejected. So it'd be like, well, if you had to guess, what would it be? You can guess as many times as you want, and then they'll just go for it.
Oh, that's a good strategy.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, you don't know. That's who I don't know either. But what if, like, let's just imagine. And then they're like, well, this and this and this. Like, was that accurate? Yeah. Okay. Go with that.
Yeah. Well, I had this conversation recently with a friend who was talking about a guy that he's seeing, and they were, in bed, and he was like, okay, like, what do you want? Like, what do you want to do? Like, what is it you want? And he's like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, I guess, like, I want your dick. He's like, okay, but like let's build on that. Like, what do you want? I don't know. It's so hard for like guys to like open up and be vulnerable and like talk about their feelings and what they want. I love Pin's Instagram footage. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but the picture you posted on Instagram, it was like a board meeting, but it was just like this empty table.
Totally.
And it was an empty table, and the caption was like guys talking about their feelings.
Yeah, WeWork invited me here to do a lesson with guys and like open up a space for them to talk and share, and like no guys came. And for me, it was like really confirming, like, wow, I love this work. It's needed. Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm like, no, this is powerful. This is like, I'm not gonna stop. I'm coming back.
So any closing thoughts, Matthew? Anything we want to add?
No, I loved it. I really did. Just from the artistic perspective, like even if I wasn't a part of this and somebody sent me the video, I'd probably be sending it to all of my friends and we'd be having a conversation about it on top of just like the sex aside, which is obviously hot, just everything that happens, there's just so much to peel back and discuss. And between the three of us, we all have different opinions. And that's what I love. That's what I love about this content, is that it really just creates conversation beyond the sex.
Yeah. I love that we all watch the same thing and have three completely different perspectives. Like even the eye contact, like we all completely projected our experiences after that. So so Calvin's trailer, I think, contained the lesson for him about letting go of a previous lover and finding the love that he's seeking for himself. But here's my question to you. What's in your trailer? What lessons do you need to learn? That's good, right? That's good.
A journal assignment. Dr. Davey.
Yeah. Did you think about that though? Like, I mean, that was what he's struggling with. Like,
yeah.
Through this whole conversation, I've been thinking about that.
What's in your trailer?
Yeah, we're not talking about it, but I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and even if you don't think about it, that trailer's kind of running your life. So I tell people, engage with it consciously, or it's going to go ahead and shape your friendships and your romantic relationships anyway. So
this is true.
We look at it or we don't, but it's there. So
yeah. All right. Well, we don't have to. We'll save that for another day. But food for thought. Think about what's in your trailer. All right. Let's get to some questions. Please send your questions to Davey at daveywavey.tv. We have some really good ones this week. I actually just got someone that followed up from a question that we answered last week, but we'll save that for next week. Question number 1. Hello from Texas. Well, hello, Texas. Ooh. I love watching your videos on YouTube, and I wanted to tell you how much I enjoy them. Thanks so much. Thank you. I have a question. I'm a chub, and I'm curious if you've ever considered doing a piece on the chub and chaser community. I know you made it your quest to make the gay community all-inclusive. We're part of it too. Just asking. Thanks for your time.
You gonna do it?
What's that?
So are you gonna do it?
Well, it's an interesting question. Oh man, I just listened to this podcast about how people say that's an interesting question as a way to buy themselves a little bit of time and to try to
as you're still doing it right now.
I'm doing it right now. Okay, here's the deal. So I really make an effort I want when people go to our website to see reflections of themselves. And that's why we've done people across a variety of ages and races and people who look different. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. But what's painfully apparent is like in the United States, I think, something like 70% of Americans would be in a category that like you wouldn't consider skinny. And so I was talking about this with Brad Amberhart, and he wants to do a series called Fat Sex, which could be really interesting. Because I think like if you are a heavy person and you go to the site and all the models are fucking skinny or muscular, it could have the impact of being like, well, like this is just for this isn't for me. Like this is just for muscular guys or for skinny guys, and like that's not the message that we want to convey. So so it's in the works. I think it'd be really fun and something that's really, really necessary, and to show heavy gay men and sexy and fun and ecstatic. I think it'd be really interesting.
Well, there you have it.
Yes.
No, but it's true, right? Like Finn, like and looking at I mean, I'm sure this has crossed your mind at some point, right? And looking at our content.
Yeah, of course it has. Yeah, I think that well, it's complicated, you know, because it also is requiring like us, you know, when we write stuff, or like when you're casting people to look at your own associations around what you think is hot. And it's a good question for everybody. It's inescapable. I've done workshops before exclusively. Like I just from Philly, you know this. And I did a workshop in New York City for really fit guys. They were part of this group. You know, they were great. And then I went to Philly, and these bears, it was a bear community. A lot of them really heavy. They were so expressive and just like there for fun. And it was a really cool experience for me also to be in that environment where they weren't, you know, ostensibly hung up on their bodies. It was really cool because I'm hung up on my body. I have a hard time letting go of what I expect it to be. And here's these guys, you know, there's like a whole room of them. There's like 20 guys having a really good time. And they have been some of my favorite people I've ever worked with.
And don't you think sometimes like I'm also hung up on my body, that I go to the gym probably in part because I'm hung up on my body. Totally. And like if I wasn't, then I probably would be bodied a little bit differently.
Yeah. I mean, I like to be strong. I enjoy being fit and strong, but definitely I am vain about my body. And I've thought before, like, how many hours would I get back if I wasn't like structuring my life around going to the gym, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's just multiple dimensions. You know, like it also helps me feel good about myself and regulates my mood. So it's not just vanity, but I think it's a good question. And I want to see more bodies to help normalize it for everybody and myself.
Something that has, just from a producer standpoint, is once we deviate from, like when we work with porn stars, like you're generally operating within like a 20-year age window and like a very narrow body type window. And like, it's a very kind of specific aesthetic. But porn stars are also the people that it's like, okay, like we know they're gonna be comfortable on camera, taking their clothes off and having sex. Also, a lot of them have like a robust following. So when we film with someone like Calvin Banks, we know that there's going to be like a splash when we do a video with him and people are going to want to see it. But whenever we widen that net and work with people that are older or heavier or that kind of don't fit that porn star mold, then you're stepping into the realm of like, you know, of people that might be trying this for the first time. And there's just kind of more stuff there's more considerations that kind of need to happen from a production standpoint. It's not a reason not to do it, and it's not an excuse for not doing it. It just does add another layer of kind of consideration in crafting the content.
When you say consideration, do you mean as far as like things that the models themselves are willing to do or not willing to do?
It's more of like if you've done 100 erotic films, then like you like I guess the unknown variables have kind of been worked out for you. But if you're doing this for the first time, like Matt, you've never done a film. And if you did, like you might at the very last minute get cold feet. You might think, okay, gosh, you know what? Like there's 10 people in the room and like, I'm not comfortable with this. Yeah. There might be like unforeseen challenges that come up in stepping into the waters of erotic content for the first time. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
totally.
So, and as a producer, you're like, okay, if you're working with 4 models and then one of them decides at the very last minute that they can't do this, and you have a shoot with 12 videos, like you
don't just gotta stand in.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you the dick. Come on.
So to answer your question, yes, that is a priority. It's something we want to do. All right. Question number 2. You mentioned that you're taking PrEP, which means Truvada, right? Yes. I went through all the testing here in Wilton Manors, Florida, with a doctor who specializes in helping gay men get Truvada. I was told that I needed a copay of $530 for a 1-month supply of the pills because my income is above the $55,000 a year threshold that separates being able to qualify for financial support and getting the drug or not. May I ask you how you get Truvada? I find it hard to believe that you're under the threshold I mentioned above. So if you have any tips that you can offer me, I would be greatly appreciated. My insurance company covers a greater portion of it than that, but I still have a copay. But there is a copay assistance program that Gilead does, and they can pay up to $7,200 a year in copays. I know this because my doctor connected me with them, and I'm not sure how. Again, like I'm not a medical professional here or a doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but if you Google Truvada for PrEP cost assistance, you'll find the website that has the information there, and there's also a phone number that you can call, because even if for some reason there's qualifications that you don't meet, there's also PrEP available through different like foundations and different resources where you can get it greatly discounted. So, any other thoughts?
No, I think that's great.
Yeah,
I'm glad someone asked that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like as a gay man that's in a high risk pool, sexually active, like it's worth having a conversation with your doctor about PrEP. And it's amazing to me how many people have that conversation and their doctors like don't know anything about it. So find someone that you can chat with about it and see if it's a good fit for you. All right. Question number 3. In a previous episode, you mentioned that you think the world needs more sluts and hoes, but I respectfully disagree. To be called a slut or a hoe is an insult. I think the world needs more intelligent people, more doctors, and more scientists. We need people who are contributing to the world and not just fucking everything that moves. I guess it wasn't really a question. It was a statement.
Thank you for your statement. Next question.
I just don't understand. I mean, he says to be called a hoe or a slut is an insult. How? Like what? Yeah. What? I have a lot of sex? Like, oh no! Like, what are you gonna say next? That I'm like a good dresser? Like that I'm handsome? Like, how is it that I have a lot of sex an insult?
Yeah, it's really a polarized kind of statement, because it's not. I mean, not everybody feels that way. I like to be called faggot sometimes, it depends on who's saying it, but like, just because, or like this idea of like, we need this or that, like, can't you be a doctor and fuck a lot? I mean, it doesn't really.
Right. Like there's no slutty scientists or like slutty intelligent people and doctors. Right. And
they're the sluttiest. I mean, I think he sounds like he's like kind of angry about something.
Yeah,
I just think he's missing the point that you're making, which is simply that you want us to be more in touch with ourselves, not afraid to be sexual and to be comfortable in our own skin and ask for the things that we want with our partner or with however we choose to live our life, but obviously be safe about it.
Totally. I'm a total hoe with my partner.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And, I think that maybe he only heard this little snippet, but he should probably watch more to get a better understanding of what it is that we're trying to convey, because he totally lost the point.
Well, the sad thing is he's not going to probably make it to the 47-minute mark of our podcast. I also think, though, like, part of the point is that we live in a world that's very sexually repressive. And I think when we repress our sexuality and when we don't deal with it, it can express itself in really destructive or unhealthy ways. So I think we need the sluts and the hoes and generally like sexually liberated people, because they show us a different path forward.
Well, can you reply to his comment and be like, watch the next video and get to minute 43 whatever seconds, tell him that we addressed his point?
I take the Oprah principle. I take the Oprah rule. And I don't know that she said this, but this is what I project onto Oprah, is that like, remember when she like opened the school in Africa for like the young girls?
Mm-hmm.
People were like, there's people who need help at home. Like, how could you do that? It's like, I mean, she's literally opening a school to like make the world like a better place and like helping these individuals. It's like if Oprah spent all of her time just responding to the criticism that she got for different things, not that I'm comparing myself to Oprah opening schools in Africa, by the way, but that's basically what we're doing with Himeros.tv. This is the equivalent. If she spent her time like responding to or replying to all the criticism that she got, she would never have time to do any of the wonderful, amazing things that Oprah does. Right. So in that same way, I am not going to spend my time and energy with a conversation with this person who I'm going to play nice with the people that get it.
Well, you know, sometimes I want to do it for you.
Well, I'll forward the email to you.
Well, yeah, just like, I don't know, just by being who you are and like shining your light, I think it kind of handles that anyway, because it's about them, not about you. And
yeah,
it's just, you know, dig a little deeper there and see what the pain is about.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a basket? No,
I'm
gonna let it shine. So next week we're gonna talk about a video titled "We Are Brothers." I can't wait for that one. In the meantime, make sure you join us on Himeros.tv with a 20% discount at Himeros.tv/pod. It's HIMEROS.tv/POD. Like God, but with a P. Finn, where can people find more of you?
FinnDeerhart.com, FINNDEERHART.
And Matthew?
Here next week at 7 o'clock on Thursday. That's all you need to know.
Are you going to have that orange background? Because I love that.
Do you really?
You look amazing in it. It really brings you out. Take a little picture of that and go shopping.
Well, thanks so much for listening. And as always, more to come.